Hi, everyone, and welcome to another version of Wisdom Wednesdays, where today our guest is Devahntau Colonel. I just can't say enough about this kid. He's 23 years old, so I can call him a kid. He's only a year older than my boys. And he has such wonderful spirit and has just such a wonderful presence and is a great conversation. So we talked about listening, and we talked about opportunities and universal law and, well, just all kinds of stuff. Perception. Oh my God, there was a great conversation in there about perception. You're going to love this conversation. So have a look, and we will see you on the other side. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, gang. So we are back and with my Wednesday morning chats, and I'm talking today with Devahntau Colonel. And I just keep looking at you just going, oh, he's so cute. He's so young. All right,
Thank you.
Just get it out of the way. Are you, what, 20?
I am 23 years old, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
My twin boys are 22, so.
Oh, right underneath me.
Right, just after.
Man, and twins at that is, whew.
I know, right? That was a memorable experience, and they survived. I didn't kill them. All I'm saying.
I bet it came close, though, really close.
You know, being a mom of boys, it did.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely, yes.
Often. Yeah, I can imagine. My mother, she had 5 boys, and 4 of us were very kind of in the same area. And there were definitely moments where she was pulling her hair out.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Now, do you have your own business? What do you do?
I do. So what I do is digital media marketing. So anything that involves brand creative, social media management, ad run, ad spend, content strategy, video editing, photo editing. Those are the areas that I cover majorly. I do also SEO and AdWords, but I lean more towards the social media realm of it, just because that's where I find that's where I feel better as far as being able to track things and then advertise things continuously.
Cool. So when we started talking, I sent you my little form. You said you wanted to talk about listening, and I'm like, that is a good topic. Why did you want to talk about listening?
The reason why I wanted to talk about listening was because there seems to be the culture right now of people in sort of the entrepreneur, the digital space. It's a lot of people going, hey, look at me. Hey, pay attention to me. Buy my thing. Listen to me. And not a lot of people that are stopping and saying, what exactly is going on here? Mm-hmm. And what does this person actually need, as opposed to what is it that I'm just trying to post a link and get in front of their face? And so that's why I wanted to discuss that.
Right. And we both come from the Guerrilla Group, where it's all about relationship marketing and building relationships. And I think it always surprises me too, because I mean, as I said, I was a communication major in college. And so I was trained to listen. I spent an entire semester taking a class in listening, and it cracks me up when I'll sit and I will talk to people and just listen to them. And maybe every once in a while, kind of reflect back to them what they said. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, they're like, oh my God, you're so wise.
I have that happen a lot too, actually. It's so funny that's exactly the response. And it's interesting because sometimes either you'll get that response that you mentioned, or you'll get something like, are you still listening? Like, did you hear me? Because a lot of people, when you don't interrupt or interject, they think, oh, they're disinterested, when really that's just you being heavily attentive to what they're saying.
Exactly. And it's always plus, I mean, one of the things that I had to really, really learn how to do is to be comfortable with those moments of silence where people aren't talking.
Absolutely.
Because you have to give them that opportunity to gather their thoughts and consider what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's really interesting, especially when I'm coaching somebody, is that absolute silence is almost immediately they're like, what? And it's like,
100%.
I'm just listening. I'm just here. I'm just present.
It's so interesting because when myself and my girlfriend, who we've been together for a little over 4 years now, when we first got together, we would have moments where just driving and things like that, like I've used to very much be like, oh, silence is like bad or awkward or whatever. But with her, it's like we both kind of understood, okay, this is a moment where we're just kind of relaxed, we're cool, we know we're comfortable. It's not that there's nothing to talk about, but it's just we're good in this silence right now.
Right.
And that moment, like, it seems weird to have that across the board, but for those relationships where you can get comfortable in that silence, I think that's how you really know that you have kind of that connection with that person where you don't have to fill every moment with something.
Right. You have that comfort with each other. I always felt like I knew I would have found the right guy when I was just as comfortable with him as I was with myself. That I didn't have to put anything on or be anything. I could just sit there and be myself and not have to do anything. Because Lord knows there were all those times when I was like, I gotta got it. And it's no. Just being able to just sit and be still with somebody is huge.
Yeah, definitely.
Is huge. And it also gives you that opportunity to not only listen, but to feel every vibration.
For sure. Absolutely.
To feel what's happening for them. Now, when did you come about this knowledge of the gift of listening?
So with this, honestly, I think it came a lot from when I was younger. We moved around a lot, and so my at the time it was my three brothers and myself and my mom. We would move to Vegas, Panama City, Arkansas, just constantly moving, and so I was always kind of the new kid in the area, and so I was always trying to figure out, what do these kids like? What's the scene around here? What are these people like? Before I kind of stuck my feet in and kind of burned myself, And as the years went on, I learned how to do that and also add myself in kind of where appropriately. And because there had been times where I tried to kind of just jump in with my own thing and I shot myself in the foot and they're like, what the heck are you talking about, guy? Like, oh, new kid alert, And so I learned the art of waiting for that right moment, of listening, but not just listening to put myself in there, but also listening and gaining context. Because that's another thing, is a lot of people listen, but they listen just to respond with what's going on in their mind at your sentence 2 when you've been talking since sentence 5. And so I had to learn how to listen to the whole picture, put that into context, and then at the same time contextualize it to me and how I can add something of value to that conversation that, this group of people that I've never met before. And that's something that I think kind of really went a little hyper when I got into high school, because in high school, when I moved to my new area, I actually had an experience where I was walking, getting off the bus, and I guess I had turned to go around someone. Well, the next day, people had spread a rumor that I was gay because of how I walked. And yeah. I don't know how that jump happened, but it happened. So literally, because I like to sell candy at school. That was another part of listening, was I literally would go around and ask classmates, hey, what's your favorite candy bar? What's your favorite thing? What do you like to eat? That was my way of making money. And so I approached this table of peers, and it was like 15 of them. So this was like, it was like a take a deep breath moment already. And then I get there, and they're like, "Oh man, we don't want to talk to you. We heard that you're gay and all this." And I'm just like, and then the girls around, they start laughing. They're like, "Hey, is it true? Are you really blah blah?" And I'm like, holy smokes, like this whole thing, like, mind you, this is like my second day at a new school.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, so I have to take a moment to go sit down and figure out like how do I want to go from here?
Yeah.
And that's where I decided, okay, well, let me just double down on what I know. What do I know I'm good at? I know I'm good at figuring out who's around me, getting deep into conversations with those people. I know I like to sell candy because I like to make money, and I know that I like to rap. And so those were the things that I held on to. And so I just started talking to whoever was around me, whether it was the cool kid, not the cool kid, the understandable person, and I pretty much just stuck with that formula until about 2 months later, when I had the exact same people that were making fun of me, trying to call me gay and all that, where they would see somebody giving me a hard time, trying to, like, I don't know, steal candy from me or soda from me, and they go, "Hey, don't mess with my buddy there. That's my guy Devahntau right there." And so 2 months later, I saw a complete flip of that, but that was through that art of the listening, figuring out my peers around me, figuring out who was at what place, and then being patient with, not feeling the need to handle everything all at once, just being patient in how I changed the perception of me to my classmates.
Wow, that's some advanced level thinking there. I mean, you could have very well gone the other way and be like, "Oh my God, everybody here at this school hates me and they think I'm gay and it's terrible." And then that would have informed your experience. But instead, you stepped back from it and you went, "All right, what do I have to learn here? What can I take from this? And that's pretty good skill right there."
Thank you.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 16 or 17 at the time. I think I was 16 at the time.
Yeah.
Just turned 16 too, because I had went to my previous school for a half year, and then at the halfway mark, I moved and continued in the new school. Started at the new school in January.
Wow. So yeah, that's pretty heavy. I mean, when I was younger, we moved all the time too. So, but at least when I got to about seventh grade, we stayed in the same time till I finished school. In the middle of high school is a tough gig to move.
Yeah.
That's where you've got your established groups and your established peer groups, and there's now I'm dating myself, but it was like, let me think, when I was back in high when I was in high school, like there was the cowboys and the jocks and the stoners and I was in the band. I was this is terrible because obviously we're not against gay people, but back in the 80s it was band fags, choir fags, and drama fags. And that was my group. That was me. I was in all of them. So I was, and the funniest part now is like, I'll meet people that I knew in high school and they're like, "Oh my God, you were just so cool." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" What? Okay. I'm like, sure. I mean, I specifically remember this one girl saying, "I just really admired you and you were so neat." And I was like,
wow.
Okay, somebody said I was cool. Okay, I just want to point out, somebody said I was cool.
That's so awesome. It's so interesting, like, the thoughts that people have of you that they never share with you, too.
Yeah.
I remember I was on Facebook one day, and I just get a tag from somebody. We weren't friends or nothing, but apparently there was this, like, whole thread of people who had been talking about people that they remembered from high school. And they get to a point where they're talking and they're like, "Who is that one guy who had everything and he always sold this and that?" And, "Oh yeah, I remember that guy. He was so cool. He used to rap." I was like, "Oh yeah." And then somebody tagged me and said, "Devahntau Colonel, it's this guy right here." And I'm like, "Oh cool, yeah." This is how people were talking about me.
It's really true that you just never know the influence that you could have on other people.
Right.
And so it's that, I mean, I've had that experience where people have come back and said, wow, what you said that time was just so profound. And I'm like, huh? Sometimes you don't even remember those moments, and yet it
Definitely.
strikes them profoundly in some way.
Hmm. And those moments, do those come a lot more from people in your group or people on your personal page that see the video?
You know, it's kind of been both. It's kind of been um, personal friends who just, you know, out of the blue say, you know, that one day you said the thing. And I'll be
Hmm.
like, you know, now, I mean, within my group, you know, there's a whole part about establishing yourself as an authority. And that was
Hmm.
something that I really struggled with, was me, an authority? What?
Yeah.
Then I have to be perfect. And no, I'm not, you know. And then, you know, it came to me, the angels said to me, you know, no, part of your grace is that you're not perfect,
Hmm.
that people can see you being not perfect.
Absolutely. It's so important.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing too, is like, is the like I feel like there's a lot of another bit of shallow listening, because like a lot of people, they will look at a person and they'll just look at what are they presenting on the social media, or what can I see at surface level,
Mhm.
um, and they don't do anything that goes deeper than that. They don't do any research into the person. They don't do any looking into, what do they have online, going back, scrolling through their profile.
Mhm.
And so, listening can be, I feel like listening can be, let's see, retroactive is for after, or is that for before?
Before.
But point before, listening can be retroactive too. Like you can go back and you can get a sense of a person from things that they posted recently in the past.
Mhm.
Now people do change and they do evolve, and they might have said something 6 months ago that now they disagree with 6 months later. But that still gives you a sort of a sense of, okay, well, a person has the capacity to change this much within 6 months. They can go from being here to there. And so that's another piece of listening that I think a lot of people lack. Like, even with the whole like fake news thing that's kind of going around now, like everybody listens to the news at surface value. They listen to whatever their preferred news station channel is, and that becomes their 100% thought. They don't know about fact checking. They don't know about looking into 3, 4, 5 different sources, looking at what aligns from all those different sources and throwing out the garbage from it. They just want to go with the first thing that they heard from the first person that they trust and have that shallow listening go on. And then they wonder why they can't have a decent conversation with someone with opposing views. It's because they're not truly listening. They're shallow listening.
Right. Well, exactly. And I think we tend to look at people and, oh, that's a blank there, but people are multidimensional. I
Hmm.
mean, the first law of the universe is that we're all connected. We all want to be validated, want to be loved, want to be cared, have made stupid ass mistakes. I mean, hello, I'll own up to those, you know, and have recovered from them. And
Hmm.
you know, it's I think that's probably where we make that mistake in considering that a person that we're looking at is unidimensional, that that's all there is about them,
Right.
when there's so much more, and such depth and hardships and things that they've overcome.
Hmm.
So you walk into that relationship with a respect for the fact that they're still on the planet and breathing. These
Definitely.
are good things. And if you start from that place, then okay, yes, maybe they are a supporter of the current president whose name I don't like to talk about. But or maybe they're not. Maybe they believe in aliens. Maybe they don't.
Hmm.
You know, but you can't know unless you ask questions and
Absolutely.
probe more to find out what it is about them
Hmm.
that gets them out of bed every morning.
Yeah.
You know, why, and it's so rich. It's such, I think that's why I love these conversations, is because it gets to go into, where did that come from, how did you get there, isn't that history incredible?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to be able to kind of pull back that thing and see the whole story. Like, I love getting the origin story
Yeah.
of people, and especially of business owners, because I mean, those are the people who you hear what they were like either as children, or you hear what they were like immediately after high school, and they just, most of the time, they've just gone through like some really tough stuff, and there was like a fork in the road decision,
Mm-hmm.
and they took that path, and now their life has become what it is based off of that fork in the road decision. And it's been so interesting to me to see those people and how every decision that they've made from that, they wouldn't change. Like, they would change maybe a little thing here and have knowledge, but they would still take every decision, even with the foresight now.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even know. I mean, sometimes that's where your instinct kicks in and you're like, you go left instead of right and you don't know why, but you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that turn makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
Makes all the difference. Have you ever had an experience like that where you just followed something and you just didn't know why, but it turned out really awesome?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So an experience like that I had was I so there was to starting this business actually. Me starting this business was part of like a 3-segment decision, because there was the segment of, okay, I'm at a job right now. It's a cool job. I could stay there, or I could go into something that's more focused on what I'm trying to do, which is marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could, for the same amount that I would have to pay, because I would have to get a new vehicle and I'd have to, all that stuff that comes with it. But there was an issue to where my credit had been messed up, because my mom had some things in my name. She didn't pay them off, so my credit was hurt. So then it became, okay, do I take all the savings that I have, put it into getting money for a new vehicle so that I can go to a new job to then work at that job, recuperate my money? Or do I just go full time into my own business, use all my money to live off of, and then attend networking events and have that be what I am doing? And so I could either stay at the job, go to the new job and spend all my money to go to that new job, and start doing things that was relevant to my experience, or start my own business. And I decided to start my own business. And so that was a moment where, and I'm still seeing how that plays out. I don't have the results of that yet, but that was definitely a moment where I was like, well, I I know that I could do these other 2 things that are the safe route, but something's telling me like I just have to give myself that chance and go all in and see what I make happen. And also, my girlfriend was hugely supportive of that, and she had seen me at one time where I had spent 2 whole weeks direct messaging over 330 people. I direct messaged. Out of those 330 people, I got 15 people to respond that yes, they wanted to use my service. This was before I started the business. She said, "Look, if you can get 15 people to use your service in 2 weeks, you can do a lot if you go full time into your business. So why not?" I said, "You know what? That makes a lot of sense."
Follow that, absolutely. And it's about I've been watching a series with Joseph Campbell, and he was always like, follow your bliss. Follow, and I always tell people, if it feels good,
Mm-hmm.
follow that. Go that way, because that's your instinct, that's your intuition, and not only that, but that's your energy. And you're going to be
Absolutely.
so much happier than if you just kind of sit around. And you're right, I mean, it is a struggle. It's often a daily struggle, but at the same time, I mean, I get up every morning and I'm like, I love my life. It's so awesome.
Right.
I get to have great conversations with people all day, and I get to help people and help people move forward, and that's a payoff in itself.
Definitely. Being able to get up and to the whole thing of meeting the new people, of not knowing exactly how things are going to play out.
Yeah.
Because even with my previous job, it was, there was a bit of unexpectancy because I worked at a gas station.
Yeah.
And so you had those people that would come in and people that would run into the bathroom and, shoot up and like all these crazy things that could happen. But then most of the time it was, you just knew exactly what was going to happen. But in going the own route of your own business, it's like, who am I going to meet today? What's going to be the value I put out into the world today? How am I going to be able, if I'm looking for it, what's the conversion on that? Oh, it's good. Awesome. It's bad. How can I tweak it? Like there's all these different things now that come into play that you just don't have to or can't think about as a entry level employee or as a employee of 3 years, but still technically not there long enough to rise up. So it's so dynamic.
Yeah. I think there is a serious gift in having moved around a lot as a kid. I think you just get comfortable with the unexpected. I think you get comfortable with new situations and you learn how to get along with different people.
Mm-hmm.
You have this gift where you just, I mean, I can talk to anybody,
Yeah,
because you just
definitely.
learn how to do that. And it's really something that struck me the other day was I was telling the story of my upbringing, which was crazy. I mean, it was, but I was telling it to a friend of mine. And as I was sitting there talking about the tragedy of it and how weird it was, he went, "What an amazing way to grow up. That must have
Wow.
seemed magical to you." And I was like, "Oh, there's a new way to look at that." Yeah, it was. So
Wow, what a new twist on it,
I
huh?
know you get to shift that perspective. And I mean, this is one of my favorite quotes by me is that if you ask for a miracle, you're given a change in perspective. But that shift in perspective orders every single step that you take after that, and you create the miracle.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that power lies within us.
Yeah, and that's been a really interesting thing too, is as I've navigated this, you meet a lot of different people, a lot of people that have a lot of faith and a lot of people that believe everything is all them. And then there are those people that are like the balance who's like, okay, well, my faith says the opportunity is going to be put in front of me, but then it's up to me to have to seize onto it and make the correct moves to navigate through it. And so it's been really interesting to see how the different people navigate through with or without their beliefs in faith or in a higher power or in themselves, and how that molds their decisions as well. And you get people that do both who end up on such opposite ends of the spectrum. Some people who completely crash and burn that are, halfway or one way or the other. And then you get people on the other opposite ends of the spectrum. And it's just interesting to see how that played out and what they did to the differences in what they did between what other people that crashed and burned did.
Yeah. I know anymore. I'm like, if I start to freak out or worry, I just go, the universe has my back. Given
Mm-hmm.
that the universe is for me, how do I love myself through this? How do I walk myself through this? How do you handle difficulties and obstacles?
How do I do it?
What's your
I
flavor?
honestly, for me, it would probably be something right now to where it's probably a step process where I go, man, because I would say I have an interesting relationship with what I consider to be the person that started. I think of it more of as a mad scientist than as like what the typical construction thought of it is.
You mean of your
Um,
higher power or? Yeah,
yes,
okay. So
I
mad scientist, I'll go with that.
yeah, because I think, and even if you think about it, like the Big Bang Theory, what does that seem a lot like? Doesn't that seem a lot like a guy who's testing a lot of different vials, and oh, there's a chemical reaction here. Oh, I guess I created this now.
Check that out. Look what I did.
Right? And then, I mean, there's just all these moments where you're like, where for me, I know that even in like the high school moments and whatever, where I'm just like freaking out, like, oh, how do I do this, blah, 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 blah. But then it's just like, have patience and you'll see that it was all just either some cruel joke or it was setting you up for something in the future or whatever. And so I start my process by saying, man, you must be planning a funny joke right now. I'll see how this is gonna turn out. We'll see. And that's my first thought is, so this is what you're setting up for me. Okay. And then my next thing is I take a moment to step away from the negative thoughts, and I'll remove myself. Typically my most like either negative or upset moments come from work. So I'll remove myself from work and I might do something like, talk with the girlfriend or message some people on Facebook that we have a good relationship, or maybe just completely go into my, what do they call it? Recreational time, maybe watch something on Netflix with her, maybe a couple hours worth if that's what's needed. And I just know that I have to get away from that for the moment and then come back to it at a later point. I never am able to get in the moment, have it be like something that's like really impactful negative, and then immediately like move to the next thing. I have to take time to pull myself back. And I think I do that instinctively because that's how I've dealt with things in the past, is by taking that step back and saying, well, wait a second, let me not act in the moment. Let me think about everything in perspective. And that's another thing that watching an hour or two of Netflix does, is it helps me to get that perspective again.
It really is. It's almost like you look at it from 1,000 feet up, and you kind of look at all the different players and all the different pieces. And interestingly enough, while your brain is doing something else like watching Netflix, your higher self is back there organizing all of that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the slot, so let's figure this out.
Exactly. It's thinking like, okay, well, like I'm sitting here, I might be watching the Green Arrow shoot a guy in the knee or something, but in the back of my head, I'm like, well, what's the reason that we were having this conversation, and then this person, when I brought up pricing, they shuffled away a little bit, or maybe it's because I asked at this time. Like all these things are happening, and then I find that when I get back and I go back and I'll read a conversation, and I will definitely have a different perspective. Like, okay, I can see where they looked at this and they got way more hesitant. So this is where I need to make that adjustment.
Right.
But it's from that retrospective, that sitting aside and letting the de-stress happen, but at the same time, the subconscious work on that self-awareness of, okay, this is honestly where you did mess up. So you have to take that into account.
And that willingness to just look at it and not be afraid of having made mistakes, just taking it as a learning opportunity is huge. That's one of the things. And part of what I do is I teach people how to use their intuition, and they're like, well, do I do it like this, or do I do it like this, or what should I do? How do I do? And I'm always like, what you want to do is experiment.
Yes, absolutely.
And see what works for you. Because that's all life is. It's not, and I used to be a relationship coach and divorce and breakup coach, and people always get, oh my God, why did I lie to myself? And I'm like, you didn't lie to yourself. You had a theory, and the theory proved to be incorrect.
Right.
You just keep following your yeses, and when you get to a no, you go, oh, okay, time to adjust. But it's that whole idea of, we're not going to get out of this alive anyway, so just play, experiment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that thought, because that's really what I do with a lot of things. Like, I do that with a lot of different business decisions. Like, oh, do I want to try this with this thing or that with that thing? And every now and then you get something that sticks. And sometimes you don't recognize it as sticking, but if you have a way to just kind of document everything that you're doing, that helps a lot so that then you can go back. But I'll get that all the time, like business owners like, oh, hey, should I do this or that? Should I use this platform or that platform? Should I do once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, 5 times a day? Should I do video or audio? And it's like, look, you could play to your strengths. You could do whatever. Or you could experiment. You could try something out for a couple of days, maybe a week, couple of weeks. If you like it, if it feels right to you, hey, add it to your strategy. If not, move on. What's the worst you've lost? A couple of days worth of practice time. I mean, if you're new, like a lot of them that are new to social, they're like, oh, I want to use 3 different platforms. Hey, try it out for a while. Earnestly give it a try, but don't just go in and half shoot it and then wonder why, you're not getting anything. It's because when you try something, you have to try it, honestly try it, like give it a full shot. You can't be reserved about it. And if it doesn't work out, then it's a learning experience. Like as an entrepreneur, that's always, I personally feel that's always how you have to be, is that everything is a learning experience. Because if you ever take any moment as a complete loss, that means that you genuinely did waste your time. And there's no benefit from that.
Right. It's always that principle of fail forward.
Yes,
just keep
absolutely.
failing forward. Just keep.
Yep.
It's that whole idea of it is not life or death. It is social media.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that came along for me was, and I mean, I've told people I tried and tried and tried so many times to make a business out of being a coach and a spiritual advisor, and kept failing, and I'd give up, and sure as shit it would come back. And finally I'm like, here I am 53 years old, and I'm like, okay, here's the deal. It's not going away.
Right? This thing has boomerang home tracking or something, because it keeps coming back.
Exactly. So clearly I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to, if it works, great. And if it doesn't work, fine. Now I know another thing that doesn't work, and I can try a new thing. Mm-hmm. And absolutely. I think people do get caught up in that whole idea of, oh my God, if I fail. And it's like, if you fail, you have more data. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Absolutely.
You have more knowledge. Now it's like Edison said, now we know 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Yeah.
All you need is one.
You can't hook a chicken up to an electrifier and get a light bulb. Right? Somebody probably tried it, thought, I can cook a chicken at the same time as get light. It's a double win.
It could work.
Like, yeah, good idea, but no.
Maybe not. Maybe not. That's funny.
So this group that you have of people that are intuitive, is this strictly like a B2B thing, or is this like people that?
It's all kinds of people. I always put out like these really funny like Facebook posts, and I'll put, we're spiritual people who swear a lot, or come out of the woo-woo closet and join our group. And so it really is, it's for people who have an idea that they want to explore intuition and the universal law of attraction, if you will. Mm-hmm. But don't quite know about it. It's really a safe place for people to learn how to do that, because I think that intuition, number one, voice of God, but also helps you make better decisions. And we are all intuitive. We all have that ability. The ancient Egyptians believed that we had 360 senses, not 5. I always use that as an example, and we do. I actually had somebody the other day tell me I'm not intuitive, and I'm like, dude, you're still here. You're in your 60s and you have survived. You're intuitive. Trust me on this. You got through Vietnam. You've been through shit. You are intuitive. Trust me.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, so it basically is, I mean, there are some people who are actually in the craft and are mediums and, you know, psychics. And I don't even use the word psychic. I just say intuitive, you know, who are into Reiki and all of that. But there's also people who are just learning to explore and don't feel as though they would be accepted by their families if their families knew. And I mean, I was telling my son the other day, it was so funny. My oldest son is 25. He just turned 25 yesterday.
Ooh, happy belated birthday to him.
Yeah. But he was, I sent him a text and we're happy birthday. And I said, I know you probably think your mom is like nuts. And believe me, if anybody had told me a year ago that I'd be out in public telling people that I talk to angels, I would have told them they were crazy. And bless his heart, he comes back and he's like, Mom, I'm just so happy you found your niche. That's all. You've been working really hard at this. And I was like, well, thank you. But it did happen. That happened with parts of my family who were like, I had one family member in particular who sent me a text and said, Aunt Starr, I just love you, but I want you to know that the Bible says that talking to spirits is just like burning your children to death.
Whoa.
And I was like, thank you. I love you too. We are not going to agree about this, and that's okay. But it hurt me. It really did hurt me. And I took my woes to Facebook and said to, you know, and it was probably one of the most popular threads I've ever had on my entire profile, with people coming back and having these stories about how they felt persecuted because their families could not accept that they were in the woo-woo space, or that they weren't following the traditional methods.
Right.
And that spoke to me a lot, to know that this group is right on. It's a safe place for people to learn to be intuitive and to be accepted for it. And, you know, to have a fearless leader who's like, okay, so like the other day I got in my car and my great grandfather was in the back seat and I'm not sure why. You know, so,
I was pretty sure that he died the other day.
He's been gone for a while, but he's in my back seat and he's yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, so it is, I think it's just, we all have different ways of getting there. You know, we all have different ways of moving through the world, and who's to say what's right or wrong? I often think the truth is subjective. The truth is what you believe. And that doesn't make it a concrete truth. It's just your truth.
Definitely. And another thing is, and this was something that I thought about recently. There's at this point there's over what, 8 billion people in the world, and you figure each human that's ever been born is different from each human that exists currently and that previously has existed and will exist. So I figure with all of these different combinations of chromosomes and atoms and molecules, somewhere in there has to be the setup for every human possible to be able to have any conceivable thing that can happen mentally happen. Like even take, for example, more people being gay, for example. Now that could be a thing of it being more acceptable in today's time, but also if you think about it population wise, with there being over 8 billion people, like the chances of everything being put together, like there's going to be variations to where the neurological processes are set up to where that's how a person is predisposed, or a person may have a more acute sense of energy in the air. But with all of the different people, there's no way that there can't be someone who isn't sensing something ephemeral or tracing something that previously was there. There's just no way that with all of these different combinations, you know, I have 6,000 Legos. I never one time, with all the different combination of Legos, I've never created, you know, a Lego gun or a Lego Buzz Lightyear. Like all of the Legos I've created have all been this same Lego of standing up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like I never switched up the Legos. Like the Legos have to change, and they have to create things and people that are especially different from the typical Lego creation.
Yeah. It's, I mean, and you're right. It's like we are all uniquely made. And so because of that, we have different gifts. Some of us, I mean, like my first husband, I always give the example was, he could meet somebody and know what they were about within 5 minutes of meeting him. I mean, just know. And for the first, I mean, we were married for 20 years. And I think probably for the first 8 or 9 years, I was like, and then I suddenly was like, oh, he's really got something. He does. He gets that. And, you know, like I have the ability to have, I know I am what's called claircognizant. I just know things. Does that mean I'm psychic? No, that means that I can look at you and I can tell you your energy right now. And I can know from that what is going on for you. But can I tell you the future? No. No, I can't. I can tell you what your options are. I can tell you what the possible paths are.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you because I've lived these 53 years, how it felt to be rejected, how it felt to be, and I can extrapolate that that's probably how you feel. Is it divinely led? Is it God? Is it the universe? Or is it just, I just know. It's really about where your comfort zone is. If you want to talk about God and the angels, I can talk that language with you. If you want to talk about universe and spirit, I can talk that language with you. If you want to talk about ancient aliens, we can have that conversation. It's really about, I think what I've learned from all of this is it's about stepping out of your own way.
Mm-hmm.
Just allowing that information to flow to you. We have that, it's available to all of us. Some of us are better at it than others. Some of us are meant to be healers. Some of us communicate with animals. Some of us listen and extrapolate information from that. But we all have a gift, if not several gifts, of just knowing, of just understanding. Some people see auras. I can't see auras. I have no idea. If I saw an aura, I'd be like, what the hell is that?
I've always been super interested. Like, you just see this heat coming off from somebody. Like, bro, you're on fire.
I can't do that. I have no idea how that works. But other people can. So we all have gifts. It's like, did you ever read the Xanth novels by Piercy?
I have not.
He was an author. He's been around. How long has he been around, Scott? For
early 80s?
Yeah, since the early 80s. And he built this series of books about this land called Xanth, Xanth, and his Piercy, Xanth, get it? But everybody in this kingdom had a talent. Some people could make chocolate chip cookies appear. Some people, hey, that's a gift. Some people could, what were some of the other ones?
Could change one person into an animal.
Yeah.
Could change a spell. Say it's a spell stone that creates electricity. He could change it to create fire. Everybody had a slightly different talent. Some were really powerful. Some were change the color of your hair.
Yeah. So, I mean, but everybody in the kingdom had a gift. And that's how I think people are. I think that's how it really is in the world. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has something that they do better than the others. And I mean, I'm like sitting there going, well, you know, even now I'm like, you know, wow, I'm a really good coach and I'm empathic. I can help other people. But now I'm like, my gift is communication. I was a communication major in school. How do I get to be this age and go, oh, wait. I have that.
That is pretty funny.
That's a little bit. You're all of a sudden like,
Maybe I was onto something when I was a little bit younger.
Maybe I had an idea.
Oh, that's funny.
What do you think your gift is? If you were in the land of Xanth, what would your gift be, your talent?
My gift? Let's see here. I don't. It's so hard to place because I've been told by so many people, because it's like I'm good at being self-aware, but at the same time, I struggle with self-diagnosing. Maybe it might be, you know, so I'm just going to kind of list off some things that people have told me.
Okay, go ahead.
People have told me that I seem like I naturally lean towards being like a people's person, like same how you said, being able to go in, talk to a person, and just have things flow in a natural and genuine way. Um, people have said that I seem very very good with strategy and planning, things like that. Even like back in whether it was high school or elementary school, which is funny because at the same time that they say that, like, I'm good at strategy and planning if it's something that I really care about. Otherwise, I am the worst at it.
Right.
So, like, I could map out, like, you know, a campaign and have plans of this, that. But then if it comes to, like, planning lunch and dinner and then what to watch, it's like, you know, I'll spend like 30 minutes debating with my girlfriend, hey, what do you want to watch while we eat? You know, so
Yeah.
I guess that I don't know what I would say it is though. Probably more so along that space of being able to talk to people and just meet the environment that I'm in.
That's a gift. That's absolutely a gift. For reals. Yeah, no, it's funny because you will. I mean, you know, I've always known communication is my thing. You know, I mean, I was a communication major, and so, but now I'm like, that's my bliss. That's having that conversation, exchanging information, exchanging knowledge. That is where I'm most comfortable and happy to just sit there and have the conversation and follow it. And so it's that, you know, I'm the same way as you though. I mean, I also work as a virtual assistant, and I can plan out my client's stuff. Oh yeah, I will sit down and create an SOP and do the whole thing. Can I do that for myself? No. No. Me,
right?
My life is basically, oh look, I'll go that way. Huh,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna go that way. Just
it's like we overcompensate and lean on our intuitiveness a lot for ourselves.
and get comfortable with that. I mean, I'm very much like, I even to where my angels, my intuitive side, have said to me, you need to plan a little bit farther ahead. I'm like, okay, I hear you. I'm gonna go follow that, you know.
Maybe that will lead me to a list and a pencil where I can then make my plan.
I can do a list, maybe. It's too funny. Well, believe it or not, we've almost been an hour.
Hot dog.
Look at that.
This hour has flown by. Wow.
It's been fun. It's been really, I love, like I said, you know, Scott pushed me into this.
Good going, Scott.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott. Scott's always the voice in the background. He's always like, I'll turn around, hey, Scott. He's like, yeah. I'm like, one of these days he may actually appear on camera.
Has he never appeared on camera?
What?
Has he never appeared on camera?
We did a live one time together, but no, he usually is over at his desk, and every once in a while we did a coaching session with some people the other day, and he was on the camera, but for the most part he's just the guy and the voice in the background. But
the thought that everyone's thinking.
Exactly, he's the voice. But he started me out on this. I said, hey, I think I want to, what did I say? I was just like, I think maybe we need to do an interview format I started out doing just me talking for an hour to the group, and I got bored with myself. So I was like, I said, maybe we need to do like Tanya's doing and interview people. And so he put it out to the gorillas, and boom, I have like a dozen people to interview. And I'm like, still going with it, going, I know this is the right thing to do. I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm going to follow it. And the more I do it, the more I just dig it and enjoy it and have fun having conversations. And it always, I mean, it's cracked me up because I had another interview the other day with a gentleman who's the same age as my oldest son. And I'm like, I wonder if I could have these conversations with my kids. No.
Scott said that's a no.
My kids would be like, Mom, seriously, no. Stop. Just don't. You know? But they apparently appreciate me, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Definitely. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad that this has been something that's been working out for you, and it's been in your swing of things. I mean, do you have kind of like how many people in total do you have that? Because 3 weeks out, so I'm imagining that you've had 3 people before me.
Yep, I think so. Yeah, well, and it's like a couple of them I just published immediately. I think you're probably about the 5th person I've interviewed. And that's been another thing really, really too, is that like one person, I interviewed her and she had a product that was launching that night. I'm like, hey, we'll just throw it out right now. I mean, I want to do it on Wednesdays. There was another person I was just like, I need to do a Cronestone reading for her. I need to actually do an actual reading for her. And then she was kind enough to say, yes, you can absolutely publish this to the group. And so I just went ahead and put that one out there. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of like, well, you know, when I run out of people, we'll just send Scott back over to the gorilla group.
Right.
Like a dozen people that first round.
We did. We got about it.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
So what was it about the post that interested you?
For me, I mean, honestly, the thing that interested me was that everybody there, they're always like, in most groups, it's always, how do I get more sales? Even in my own group, that's the most common thing. I'm having trouble getting clients, having trouble getting sales. And so in their post, when they said, what's an issue that you have with your business or something you would like for your business that isn't sales, that made me think, whoa, this eliminates 99.9% of what most people will say. And it forces you to think about something else about your business that other people can contribute to. And so I was like, you know what? This is super interesting. Let me just look at it and see what's going on and just pay attention to it. Okay. And then I ended up contributing to saying, hey, I have a problem with this. And I got responses. And it just, but that setup, it's so simple, but it's so brilliant though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Well, cool.
I meant my post specific.
Oh, he was talking about his.
Oh, about the post about being interviewed for
me
for talents.
Yeah. That
one interested me because I see a lot of people doing interviews for like businesses, especially kind of in like advertising or marketing or any kind of group about networking.
Yeah.
But an interview about talents, I've never seen that. So it stood out because it was something that really kind of either nobody else is doing it or I haven't seen anybody else doing it.
That's interesting. I know it's like, and it's again, one of those things where we just went, hey, let's try this. And then it worked.
Well, and it wasn't one niche. It was an open call.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Being intuitive, either beginning, master, if you're interested. I have a whole gamut of responses from, I have no idea if I'm intuitive, but I'll talk to you.
Yep, exactly.
Hey, I'm a Reiki master, and I'd love to talk to you.
And you know what the interesting thing is, though? It's like, you know, even the people who are like, have labeled themselves as beginners or, you know, not really being intuitive, there's still that universal law of attraction piece where at some point you made a choice that has now affected your worldview. And your choice was, let me step back and observe. I'm not going to be defeated by this. Let me figure this out. And so, and it was kind of the same thing that I was speaking with Enrico the other day. And he said, you know, I got into
you interviewed Enrico?
I did interview
love
Enrico.
that.
He's
That
so
guy
cool.
is just value bomb central.
Right. Absolutely. And I loved the whole crux of our whole interview was him going, I got into a situation where I wasn't happy and I decided it wasn't better or worse than anything else. It was just different.
Mm-hmm.
And that
super interesting.
Yeah. So these kind of conversations are just like that, where you discover there's this one little nugget that if anybody can look at it and go, yeah, oh, okay, I get it. I can look at my things in a different way now.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's gold. That's gold. That's
Definitely.
why I don't even care, because I know that Spirit's guiding it. Will be fine. And I just adore the conversation.
Wow. Now that I know you interviewed Enrico, I have to see that. Can you add me to, do you guys have a YouTube channel?
We do.
We're working on it. Getting there.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely add me to the group. I would love to see all of the other interviews you guys have done and everything.
Cool. We sure will. We sure
awesome.
will. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to stop the recording now and say thanks, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye, guys. This was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us for our Wisdom Wednesday conversation with Devahntau. Next week, we'll be talking to Karina Pardis about music and where inspiration for the soul comes through her music. And so I hope you'll enjoy that conversation as well. We'll see you next time.